all right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the studio. And today we are painting that orange and peel up there. I'm excited to be back. I'm happy to be back. Can't wait to get started doing some painting. As is the case recently, we are on YouTube and on Twitch at the same time, multi-streaming. I don't have chat quite integrated right. I'm not using a third party, so I'm reading chat in both places. The paper that I'm using, I'm getting on to some of the stuff that we have going on today. The paper that I'm using is my Bao Hang watercolor paper. This is slightly smaller. I can tell this is the studio grade watercolor paper. I've got my orange drawn. It's roughly the same as that. Let's see. What am I using over here? I've got my, somewhere over here, I think. Here we go. I've got my King Art brushes. I've used this one so much, the writing has come off of it. I love my King Art brushes. The paints that I have here on my right hand side are M. Graham paints. And let's get into it. Lab Accident. Hello, Lab Accident. The long time no see is with us over on Twitch. I'm glad to see you again. Hope you're doing well. And I'm going to try to do this in a whole bunch of different layers, right? The image itself isn't that large. I think we can paint a couple of layers, a couple of different areas, and then start building upon that. So I'm going to start with that right now, and I'm just going to jump in with some really light, what is this? Yellow ochre, right? Pretty dilute yellow ochre, and I'm going to pretend as though this yellow ochre is actually the white color. I guess you'd call it the pith of this orange. And I think when it dries, it'll dry a little lighter than it's going on. I think we'll see that indeed it's going to come out with a nice off-white color. And if we don't do anything with the background, it'll be great, because we'll be able to tell directly from the background what is orange and what is not. Lab Action says, I know I've been improving health-wise, which is fantastic. Got stable-ish. Let's continue that and get for fully stable on an immune suppressant, which is fantastic news. That's great news. And what else did you say? I had time today to watch. So good. So thank you for joining. I've got a few people over on YouTube. So if you're here, don't be shy. Reach out and say hello. Part of the reason I do these live streams is because I really do enjoy the back and forth, the camaraderie, the conversation that we all have. So please reach out and say hello at least, and let me know you're there. And let's start a conversation while I'm painting. Usually I can carry on two things at once. And let's see, I think I've got a few updates for things going on around here for you all. I did have, well, last week, obviously I wasn't here. I was sick. I was not feeling well. I actually came home from work and slept for about an hour. And that wasn't fun. Everybody at my house has been sick at one time or another over the past couple of weeks. So I think it was my turn to get it. You might hear a little bit in my voice right now. It's still trying to hang around. I've jettisoned it probably better than the rest of my family has. They're still trying to kick it fully. But I've got that going on, and I do have some sad news for everybody. You all know I love my chickens. They are part of the family. A couple of weeks ago, Pumpkin became egg-bound, and I did everything I could to try to help her pass her egg, but she was not able to in the long run. And last Sunday, she finally succumbed, and so Pumpkin passed on Sunday. Had a day of mourning at my house for her. One of my favorite chickens that I've ever had. She was fantastic. But we'll move on. She's still with us in spirit. She's joined all of our other family pets in the cemetery in the backyard. Live Accident says to say hello to everybody on YouTube. She's over on the Twitch platform, and oh no, poor girl, yeah, I feel badly. Susie over on YouTube says, my grandsons are passing that illness around too on the East Coast. Yeah, oof. And sorry about Pumpkin. It was, I got home from work one day and I went outside, and you know, as I do every day after work, I go out and I say hello to the chickens, and I pick them up and pet them and whatnot. And I try to be as in tune with them as I can be, as a person can be for a chicken. And early on in having chickens, I learned that you can tell a lot about them by looking at their comb. And literally, her comb was purple. It was dark. It was like this maroon color, and I went, that's not a healthy color. Right now in the spring, it should be the color of this Pyrrol Red, and something wasn't right. And I looked it up, and it said, well, if their comb is that color, she probably is egg bound. And then tried to figure out what you do for egg bound chickens. And one of the only things you can do is to soak them in a warm Epsom salt bath. And I think I soaked her in, I'm trying to think, 8 or 9 different Epsom salt baths at between 20 and 40 minutes apiece to try and relax her body, reduce any swelling, and help her pass it. But in the end, it didn't work. And Lab Accident says chickens have such personalities. Pumpkin was the biggest pain in my tuchus. She would get into the greenhouse and she would dig in the beds in the greenhouse, but she was always right there, wanting to be by your side, and always looking up at you, and always wanting you to pick her up and spend some time with her. I loved Pumpkin. Still do. I still do. I just can't enjoy her like we did before. Live Accident says, I had a family friend who had chickens when he was a kid, and loved hanging out with them. They're so great. Kenya is here over on YouTube. Welcome, Kenya. Susie, I did do all I could, or all I thought that I could. Okay. Sad day. Okay, so I've got on what is in essence going to be the white of the orange over there, right? Everything in the rind, everything underneath or around the orange. So everything we build up from here is going to be a little bit heavier and a little bit heavier, and we're going to try, I'm going to try to do that in layer upon layer upon layer. So the next layer I want to put on is going to be a yellow. I only have a cold yellow, and that'll be okay. I'll mix it with a little bit of the yellow ochre, and it'll warm it up slightly. But I've got some areas on here that I think, whoop, that was still slightly damp. That was not a good job, Michael. That I think could use a little bit of a yellow color to go underneath the orange that's going to go on top, or the orange layers on top. And so I'm going to just put on a couple of bits of yellow in a place here or there. And this is going to be, you know, another part to layering this along the way. Let's see, let me get a little bit more of that color. And as I look at it, I've got some of this color that needs to go along this side. Here, so I'm just going to put a little bit of that on there. Tom Tavers is here. Tom, welcome. Good to see you again. And of course, Kenya, if I didn't say it, I don't remember if I did. It's fantastic seeing you here again too. Glad to see you guys. I think last time, that reminds me, last time we were all here together, I had asked if anybody had heard anything from Tracy, because she's not here. She hasn't been here for a while. So I reached out to her just to see if she's okay. And she is doing fine. She got a new position, and it's harder for her. You know, she from time to time would log on and watch from work, and she's like, my new position is keeps me a little bit busier, and I'm not really able to do that. But she is doing well, hanging in there, and apparently doing well with a new job. So bully for her. Love to hear that. Or not a new job, I guess a new job, but a new position at her current job. I guess that's the better way to say that. So always glad to hear that she's doing well. All right, and so these areas that I'm painting are kind of, you know, they're kind of the inside of the peel right now, where it's a little closer to the peel, a little further from the pith, so the color changes a little bit. So I just want to put get a little bit of that color on here, and I'm actually gonna take this right on up. Just gonna blend this up. And again, this is 2 layers so far. A little bit of yellow ochre and a little bit of this cold yellow that I have. I would use a warm yellow, but I think cold yellow is fine. That's what's on my palette. We'll get to all those other fantastic yellowy colors, and then I'm going to take and put some of this in a couple of other of these places, right, just to give a little pop of color from here to there. And I've drawn on some of that, I call it pith. I'm not sure what it is. Some of the white on here. And I'm just going to try to go around a lot of that. I'm not going to worry about it too much, because I can always go back over a little bit of it with just some straight white if I need to. But I think it's nice to have a little bit of that undertone on here. We'll just make sure it stays. Let's see which slice is this. I have to continue to look up to see which slice it is that I'm painting here. So we got a couple of comments here over on Twitch. I should say I'm glad to see we've got a few people joining on Twitch. The first few weeks I did this, viewership was pretty sparse over there, and I keep saying I'm gonna do more on Twitch. I'm gonna do more pith. Kenya, so right, that's right, pith. I missed 1 week because I forgot it was Wednesday. Oh, Kenya, you didn't miss anything. I was sick. I called off last Wednesday. The flu bug is going through my house. Let's see. I do have a bot here. I got a bot over in on Twitch. Hang on, everybody. Give me a second here while I don't know how I get rid of that. All right. Well, it's going to stay there. That's okay. Pith. It is the pith. It's the pith. And I hope you guys can see what I'm doing here. Okay. So cool. You can see down here, I'm just starting to build up some color. You can see it here. I'm starting to build up a little color. I'm going to go slow, and I'm going to talk a little bit while I'm waiting for this to dry. I want these layers to go on pretty dry. But we have the opportunity. So I'm just going to tell you where I'm looking. When I look at that image, and let's do this. Let me let you see that while I talk about it. So that white part of the peel, the inside of the peel that's in that top third of the reference photo there, I really want to dig into that and get some of that change of color going in there, right? There's some yellows, there's some oranges, there's some browns, there's a little bit of blue for the shading in there. I think that place gives me a little bit of interest on this painting. And down where all the different slices are, trying to make those individual slices. Where do I need to go back to? Those really have a lot of interest for me. So this area right here, a lot of interest. This area in here, where we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different slices all coming together, that has a lot of interest for me. So I'm really looking forward to digging into whatever we can do to separate those and make those work well. Lab Excellence says, I've also got a bug that's just going around her area. That's not good. Well, I guess it happens. Happened a little later this year, I think, than in years past. I think by April, usually, all the bugs have come and gone. This one's a little unusual. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to my, what is this? A Gamboge, and I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to do a larger area with this Gamboge, right? And I'm going to try hard not to cover up all of the yellow that I just painted up here. And I'm also going to try very hard not to make this the darkest layer possible. If I have to come back and put another layer of orange on here, I'm totally fine with that. I'd be happy to put a whole nother layer of this orange on. What I want to do is start to block in some color so we can see what it's going to look like when we fully flesh this out. And as you all know, with watercolors, right, we do a lot of light layers. In theory, that allows a lot of that light to come through. Each layer being really light allows some transparency, and for that light just to shine right on through. So we're gonna try to do this in some really light layers. There we go. Look, so I don't know if you can see, I've maintained some of that yellow, that just straight yellow here and over on this side, and still gotten a little bit of orange on there. Let's see, come down like this, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. We can do this. This is a larger field, and this field of orange, this area of orange, probably is going to end up being a little bit on the darker side when we're done with it. And we get to determine a little bit of that because we're going to figure out how dark we want those orange slices to be. If we want those orange slices to be really dark, well, then we can leave the peel a little bit lighter, just so that we have a little bit of a difference between the two color tones. And if we determine that we want the slices to be a little lighter, then we can make this peel a little bit darker. I think down in this corner and in that corner, it's going to be plenty dark. for us. Yeah, I'm just going to put this on as kind of a straight color. Here we are. So it's been 2 weeks, and I feel like I'm out of practice. I feel like I'm talking a million miles a minute. If I'm going too fast, if somebody wants me to slow down, just let me know. I'm happy to slow down a little bit. I'm happy to talk a little bit about anything else. Anything but politics. I'm happy to talk about. There we go. Look at that. I think that is already, without doing a whole lot. Whoops, maybe if I put it right in the center where you could see it. Somebody's got to let me know. Already, without doing a whole lot, we've already divided up the fields, and we can see easily how it matches that. Whoops, that. I've got this little bit down here that I'm just going to paint this orangey color. It's not really an orange, it's just a warm yellow. Really, Gamboge, I don't think anybody would consider an orange. But next to that cold yellow, it probably does look quite orange. There we go. Okay, cool. And now the nice thing is that we get to decide. Now this feels weird to me. When I set this up, I didn't pay attention to where my page sits on the table. I want to put it right about there, but I'm off screen, so I'm going to put it down here. And now I'm looking up there. Down here in the corner are, of course, the palette colors that I use. Here they are. I believe they yellow, ochre, turquoise. So they run this way like this. And you can see that right on my palette. This is exactly the way my palette is laid out. Turquoise, my blues, greens, neutrals, purple, reds. Yes, I put burnt umber in with my reds, my yellows, and then yellow ochre over there. These two are oddballs, in my opinion. And these really, to me, could go together, and I could go turquoise all the way down, change this to Hansa, Gamboge, and Azo Orange, and have that whole top thing filled up. But I don't know, this is just the way it turned out for me. Okay, let's see. Let's keep going with this. I'm gonna get a little mix of these two colors. My Azo Yellow, which is a cold yellow, or Hansa Yellow, I guess. It's a cold yellow, and a little bit of my Gamboge, which is a warm yellow, and I'm going to start to paint some of these orange slices. Little bits here and there, very lightly. But I want to do very lightly because I want to make sure that my color isn't so dark that it's going to clash or blend in with the peel up here, even though we're going to do more with that peel. I don't want to start down that road. But I do want to get some nice colors on here and start building these up into some nice orange slices. Nobody has any questions tonight. No questions. Who isn't here to ask the questions? Normally I feel like I'm answering a lot of questions from people, and nothing. That's okay. It's okay. The only issue is if you don't ask questions, you have to listen to what I'm going to say the whole time. And believe me, I have to listen to myself talk all day. It might not be what you want to do. I'm just saying. you might get about halfway through and go, oh, I should have started asking some questions earlier. All right. And like I said, just all I'm trying to do is put on some color. I'm not really even trying to be too precise about this color. I just want to make sure it gets on here. It gets on here roughly in the right area, so that we can block these shapes out. If I have to put it on a little darker here and a little lighter there, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And if this one looks like it's a little bright because it's got a lot more of that gamboge in it, that's okay. We can tone that down. Something just fell. Get off of there. Let's see. Kenya says, I've been playing with a new art supply. It's optimistic shellac-based ink. It has a wonderful graphic quality. You can make it opaque or transparent. Okay, so that sounds cool. Who makes that? Where might one find that? And follow-up question. Where? Oh yeah, cool. You can post some examples in Discord. Cool. That'd be awesome. I would love to see that. And you get some wonderful graphic quality. So I want to make sure your graphic quality is the same as my graphic quality. When you say graphic quality, what do you mean by graphic quality? Uh-oh. Somebody just texted me on my phone. I thought I had it turned off. It's gonna have to wait. I will say, so yeah, Kenya, how do you change the opacity? Add more shellac. Oh, cool. It's made by Pyrrol. I believe I know the Pyrrol company, but I'm struggling. I'm certain I know Pyrrol. While I'm thinking about Pyrrol, I'm gonna tell you a little story. I'm gonna get into a little bit of a story here. Has anybody ever had Famous Amos cookies? Does anybody know who Famous Amos is? I don't know how or when Famous Amos ever got famous, quite honestly. But it was my stepfather's, I almost said it was my stepfather's birthday. It's about to be my stepfather's birthday. And he, he's at that age where he's difficult to buy anything for because he doesn't need anything, and he doesn't do 10,000 things like he used to do. He just wants a few simple things, and he's good to go with that. Well, I remember from years and years and years ago, I always remember him going to the grocery store and buying these Famous Amos cookies. Or we would, when he lived in LA, we would go downtown LA to the Famous Amos store and buy these Famous Amos cookies. And he used to always say, oh, these are so good, these are so good, these are so good. Well, my wife and I and my kids were all like, what do we get Grandpa for his birthday? And then we walked through the snack aisle. All right, I understand mistake number one probably is walking through the snack aisle, but I walked through the snack aisle and I saw a bag of these Famous Amos cookies. And I was like, oh, I know what we're getting. I know what we're getting Grandpa for his birthday. And Kenya used to drive to Hollywood and pick up fresh made cookies when he had just a small stand. Yeah, my father-in-law probably did too. Uh-oh. I got a big blip. He probably did too. He'd lived in LA for years and years and years and years and years. Anyway, I sent him some of these for his upcoming birthday. And I sent an email to my mom and said, hey, these are going to be on your porch, this day. Be sure you're looking for these. They're coming. Well, they arrived yesterday, and I checked in with them and with my with my mom, and she was like, I'm not sure if I should say you did a good job or a bad job getting him the cookies, but he's already eaten 3 bags of them. I was like, yeah, I think that means we did something right. Used to, I should be back. Susie, am I not back? Am I back? Uh-oh. What is going on? It's back. It is back. Okay. Yeah, I got that little blip on my screen that said something's wrong, and I've got a little line on the bottom of my screen that says something happened. But it looks like I've come back everywhere, and I'm trying to see what I'm sending. And I'm sending at a terrible rate. And okay, so I get report lab accident, says I'm okay over on Twitch. That's weird. I just rebooted my computer and I thought everything was going to be good this time. Kenny says it's a great gift. Yeah, let's get back to the story. Let's overlook the fact that my internet once again is not playing nicely. It's only been 10 years that my internet's been in trouble. Some such amount of time. Okay, I'm going to start on my next layer here as we're doing this. And this one's going to be a more orangey layer. I'm going to this is going to be a mix between my Azo Orange and Gamboge. The last one was a mix between Gamboge and my Hansa Yellow. And so this one is going to be kind of just the opposite, or the next version of that. And I'm going to put some color on, kind of like this. And let's see how this goes. I don't want to put this on in just one solid block of color like I did before. This is one I really want to start thinking about how the colors go on to this orange, and what is a darker color and what's a lighter color. And hopefully we can get some, good variation on this skin or this peel. And this will just be one more layer, and we'll come back and we'll really darken it up. And I think you can see there's kind of a difference here. Let's get some more of this. All right, we can darken this up even a little bit more over here. This is where it comes down. Let's do that. See if we can kind of combine 2 steps in here. I have to be really careful now because this was already a little damp. If I add too much water to it, then I'm going to get a horrible, horrible background in here. So I do have to be a little bit careful. But I think we can do this. Maybe this over on this side. is bending in, and it's got a little bit of a shadow right in here. Let's go with that. Let's go with that. All right, so I should be coming back. Hopefully I'm coming back. Frozen, yes, frozen, but coming back better. Am I back? Can everybody see me? I hope everybody can see me. I just jiggled my connection, and I've got fantastic connection showing here. So if you all can see me again, I'm reconnected over on Twitch. Anybody on YouTube? Anybody? I am Gnome is here. Kenya says hello. I am Gnome. It looks to me like I'm back, but I'm not sure. Oh, Kenya says you can see. Okay, good. I'm gonna keep moving ahead then. Kenya can see me. I'm calling it good. All right. I'm gonna start over here. Yeah, I'm gonna start over here with this mix. What I'm sent. Oh, now my connection just crapped out again. Okay, I'm going to attempt to continue this and hope that the connection picks back up, because I'm not sure exactly what I can do about it at the moment. If I run in the house and restart the router, then that's gonna take 10 minutes. The connection is broken. I'm gonna have to reset everything. We'll have to start all over. We're back. We're back. You can see. I am Gnome can see. Tom can see. Some of you are good. I'm betting some of you are not. But I'm going to try to plow ahead, and we'll see how it goes. And maybe this is just going to be one of those streams that is fraught with difficulty, regardless of what we do. And I'm just going to keep right on going. And I will severely apologize for the technical difficulty. The funny thing is I used to always restart my computer before a stream because I had such difficulty with it, and I've kind of gotten in the habit of not doing that anymore. And just by sheer happenstance today, I restarted my computer and got this. So the moral of the story is, if your computer ever starts working, don't stop it. No, that's not the moral of the story. I'm not exactly sure what has happened, but we'll just forge ahead with it. We're going to assume it's not going to continue to happen time and time and time again. If it happens this time, we'll chalk it up as an unfortunate incident. And when I'm done here, no, that's not true. Tomorrow, because when I'm done here, I pretty much go straight to bed. I check in with the family, see how they're doing, and go straight to bed. Because I get up very early in the morning, and we'll finish here about 9 o'clock, or by the time I am done with changing the thumbnail and whatnot, it's getting on 9 o'clock here, and so I'm pretty much done at that point in time. All right, I'm going to add some color. I'm going to start adding some color to some of these orange slices in here, and I'm going to allow this color to be a nice long graduated wash all the way out. Let's see, we need some color over here. And I love doing these nice long washes anyways, so for me, this is kind of heaven to be able to do these nice washes. And I'm going to take that all the way up to the top, all the way up to the top. And we've got one slice that's really started up there. Let's see. Yep. No, I've still got plenty of problems here. So it's funny because, yeah, Sherry, yours keeps going on and off. Yeah, my connection speed keeps going up and down and up and down. What kind of styles have you experimented with before? What kind of art styles do you want to explore? I am known. Great question. I have tried probably every style you can think of. Maybe not cubist, but I've tried doing things very wet indeed. And I tried doing a lot of really loose and wet paintings, and I don't want to say they weren't good. They just didn't feel like me. I've done some really kind of photorealistic paintings, and that didn't quite feel like me. And I've done some of just about everything in between, and I think where I land is kind of the way I'm painting tonight in this. It's not photorealistic. It's realistic inspired, I would say, painting. Such that I get something at the end that is eminently recognizable for what it is, but it's not necessarily, you're never ever gonna confuse that for an actual picture of something. And honestly, I don't want to do things that are that photorealistic. I have thought about the art that I want to do and the art that I like to do. So I used to play a lot of golf. And this is my analogy to this. I used to play a lot of golf, and I used to get really upset when I would watch the PGA Tour, and they would go, well, you have to have a swing that looks like this. Or you go and you talk to a golf pro, and they go, well, your golf swing has to look like this. This is the way to do it. And I was like, why would that be the only way to play golf? The golfers on a pro tour don't play golf only one way. There are lots of different styles, and they're like, well, yes, but they've made it, and they're kind of lucky, and if they were to start out today, they would do it differently. And I've always been like, that's a terrible way to think about how you should do something. So when I paint, I'm very cognizant, for the most part, not always, but for the most part, I'm very cognizant of painting the way that I think my body wants me to paint, the way the brush is telling me to paint, right? As I do this, there's definitely a way that feels more natural to me to paint, and so that's kind of the area where I hang out. Right, so even if I do something that's a lot looser or a lot less formal than this, it's still going to have a whole bunch of elements of the style of me in it, the way I paint, because I feel like I don't have any choice. That's kind of how I have to paint. and I don't know what am I going to try to do in the future. I'm going to try to do all kinds of stuff in the future. So this month's challenge is rain, and so what I wanted to do was do kind of a wet in wet painting, and do like well, my thought was do like a New York City taxi cab in the rain, right? Going to pick up a fare, and it's raining outside. And I thought that would be a really cool thing to do. So I'm going to do that, but I'll bet you when you see it, it's going to have a lot of the elements, even though it's not going to look like this, it's going to have a lot of the elements of my typical style of painting in it. And I don't know, I don't know if that helped answer that or not. I hope it helped some. I hope you could hear some or all of that. I prefer semi-realism too. Okay, if I wanted something super photorealistic, I'd take a photo of it. Right. I want this to be a cool representation of that. I don't want it to be the same as that because I have that. That's right. That's one way to look at it. I have that. If I want that as that, I'll print that out, and then I've got it. Cool. And then we can go on to step 2. But yeah, my paintings are always somewhere in between. They're certainly not realist. They're certainly not, fantasy. They're not wet in wet. They're just, they are what I hope is something developed in my own style. And if you were to come and look at my office, you would see I have a definite style that not everybody else has. Because in my office I don't know how many of these paintings hanging up. Seemingly every painting I ever do is hanging up. To my wife's great chagrin, because she's like, "Why are you not selling all of these? You should be getting rid of these." Yeah, I don't know. The fun for me is in the painting, not in the selling. But look! As you're looking at this right before our eyes, look, this is coming alive. There's a slice. There's something going on back here. We're going to make this look like a slice right here, too. It's getting there, right? So I'm making sure to keep this nice and orange. But where I have, instead of making it darker orange or a redder orange or something like that, I'm just altering the tint of the orange by putting in some yellow ochre into it, and that's just changing it just enough that we get some cool different colors in there. There we go. And as we go up, or as we need to lighten that, as we find more of the color of this orange, then we'll get into some yellows and some oranges colors as we go up here to the top. But anywhere we've got a shadow or a darker area, I'm just going to try to put in some of this yellow ochre to augment that color a little bit. And I probably should do a little bit of that right up here. Darken that up just a little bit, and you don't really even notice that it's not orange until you get right up close and look at it. I pull that right on down, and that, to me, that's an orange slice right there. Look at that. I don't want to change these colors too much. I want these colors to settle and do what they want to do. Maybe I do want to do a little bit. I've got a little bit blocky down here. I'm going to pull some of this color up just a little bit, but it's still wet. Oh, we got some cool orange slices in there. Okay. Cool. So I don't know. Okay, I have known you love the cab idea. I'm gonna try it. I do think it's important. Natalie's here. Hello, Natalie. You're here on a great night, but I'm having a few technical issues, so be patient with me. My internet has gone bonkers here, and if I stop too much to do some troubleshooting, then we're going to lose the stream and everything involved in it. So, and Dwayne on the PC tonight, not on the phone. Thank you guys for joining. But bear with me tonight. Having some technical difficulties. My PC or my internet is not playing nicely. And so it might be a bit glitchy. If it is, I apologize. We all here together have kind of come to the conclusion that I'm going to keep right on painting. And if you guys can at all stand it, please do hang out, ask some questions, be an active part of the stream. I say it all the time. I love that you guys are part of the stream and that I can come in and do this with you all. That's what makes it so much fun for me, is to have a community and some people to talk to while I'm doing some painting. Hopefully we all have a good time together. But if it gets too much, I totally understand. I apologize. I'm gonna take a look at my internet when I get out of here. Dwayne, you can type much better tonight on a real keyboard. Yeah, phone keyboards are horrible. So all I'm doing, I'll let everybody know. I started off, I was like, I'm going to paint this in a whole bunch of different layers, and we're going to make this really cool. We started off with a couple of layers up here, and a couple of layers here, and then I got down here, and I've kind of eschewed the layers for the time being, and we're doing it, some of it in a little heavier layer maybe than I really wanted to, but it's still going to look really good. It's going to turn out really nice in the end. It's just maybe we'll have a little thicker layer on here than we wanted to, but we're going to have to come back and we're going to add on to it anyway. So it's going to be all good. It's going to be all good, and it's going to look fantastic in the end. Dwayne says looks awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Let's see. So I'll just go through Natalie and Dwayne. You guys are new arrivals to this stream. I'll let you know. The colors I'm using here are very minimal so far. Right, I put a whole layer of really light yellow ochre down. That's this layer. It looks almost white, but you can see the difference here is not quite white. And I'm using that for that pith that's on the orange, on the inside of the orange, right? There's a little bit of pith on there. I don't want that to be white, so I've determined that it's going to be a bit of off-white. And then I put some lighter yellow on here, or colder yellow. I'm using Hansa Yellow. And then put a layer of Gamboge on top of it. And then I'm coming back with a layer of Azo Orange, or a mix of Azo Orange and Gamboge on top of that. And then we're just going to keep going around and going around and going around, and we'll see how it goes. Natalie says, I was skipping, but now I'm being played at 1.25 speed, and I seem better. I don't know how that works, but I totally am going to take your word for it. I don't know that anybody wants me at 1.5 or 1.25 speed. So, like I said, this down here, I want people to be able to see the difference in these slices, the difference in the color of these slices. I want you to see that there are different slices here. So as you know, as they're down towards the bottom in the cup of the orange down here, I guess that's a way to say it. A little bit darker, a little bit heavier. Mix in a little bit of yellow ochre. I know it doesn't necessarily make sense that would do much of anything, particularly when we're dealing with these bright oranges, but it does. It takes it down just enough that it appears darker and more shadowy down at the bottom, down there. And yeah, I'm looking at it, and we definitely have some more work to do down inside here to make this look like there's more going on. In fact, I could put a little bit of this in right now, right? Let's give me, I don't know, give me something a little darker there. There we go. I just dropped in a little bit of alizarin crimson. It's a wonderful, wonderful, just dark color in there. That should help add a little bit of dark and maybe seat all of these in that little bit. And if I just let those colors touch that little bit, if they can just get along, I think we're going to be fine, and it'll look like they're sitting in a bowl in there. Okay, so this is all wet down at the bottom. Yeah, the blending is incredible. The blending is going to get there. Don't say it's incredible yet. It's going to get there. There is some cool gradation on it, but it's gonna get there. It's going to be neat. All right, let's come up here and do some more work up here on this thing. And I know this is really dark here, right? Really dark. Let's kind of see if we can stick with some of the same colors that we've been working with. And as we come away from this bend, it's just bent around there, right? As we come around this bend, we should get lighter. And I decided that this was going to be a bit darker over here too. Again, I'm going away from the reference photo a little bit. I don't really mind that so much. I've never been one that stuck too much to the reference photos. I want to do justice by that reference photo. I don't want to duplicate that reference photo. So if I can make a cool image out of all of that, then I think I'm ahead of the game. And I'm just wetting my brush. You see me reach up over there. That's where my water is. I'm just kind of reaching up there, wetting my brush, damping it off a little bit, get some of that color off. Uh-oh. Just went outside the lines. Don't go outside the lines. Get some of that color off of there. Get the dampness just right in order to get the color on exactly where I want it. Something like that. That has some interest to me. Actually, I'm going to put a little bit of this dark way back in the top back here. Right, way back here. That to me should be a little bit darker. Right on back there. Natalie says, "Ooh, I love a good Gamboge." Gamboge is one of my favorite colors. I think my all-time favorite color has got to be turquoise. I don't use it enough, but Gamboge is right up there. Okay, cool. I think that's got some interest to that now. I like the way this is starting to look. Again, I shouldn't do this. Might have started to dry a little bit. This has got a little bit of interest. A little darker, a little lighter here. Maybe it's cupped a little bit right there, right? A little like that. Darker as it comes over to the side. Especially if we put some dark back here, it's going to make this pop up, right? And I think this is all dry enough down here. We're going to start down here, do the same thing down here too. So Azo Orange, a little bit of this yellow ochre. Let's drop it on there, and we need to pull this color out a bit. Maybe we can put a little bit of that Maroon Perylene on there just to really darken that up a little bit. I will say we might want to think about adding a little bit of blue in here somewhere, or some purple in here somewhere, because if we don't, all of these warm, hot colors, it's going to run the risk of getting really bright. Now I know oranges are pretty bright to begin with, but the Azo Orange, the Gamboge are some pretty fiery colors, and while I don't mind assaulting people's eyes a little bit, maybe we don't want to completely do that. I mean, I'm not opposed to making it really bright. I've done other orange paintings, and I purposely made them so bright that they were difficult to look at from time to time. And I have to say, I thought they turned out fantastic. Well, that's not really what I'm trying to say. I thought they turned out fantastic. They turned out almost exactly like I wanted it to turn out. And I had a friend of mine in my office where they're all hanging at, and he's the curator, maybe not curator is not the right term, of the local performing arts center. And I don't mean, concerts, like Bruno Mars or something like that. He does, I don't know, like the symphony will come and play at his venue, or I don't know, they'll do Nutcracker Suite. What are they doing this weekend? They're doing something else. I don't remember. I don't remember what they're doing. Let us just say it's more artsy than music-y. And he came into my office and he saw it, and he was like, he immediately pointed to it and he went, that's the best thing you've ever done. I was like, okay, cool. I'll go with that. All right, so I don't know how far behind everybody is, and I'm watching my video, which is what I'm watching is quite far behind where I'm speaking. So I'm purposely slowing down just a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna grab a little bit of whatever this is, Ultramarine Blue. I don't know why I can't think of it. I've got my card right here. Ultramarine Blue, right? Everybody's favorite for shadows, and I'm going to put a little bit of this Ultramarine Blue on here, and I'm going to try to be brave and let it do what it wants to do, and not try to control it too much. That is, where it wants to have a shadow, I'm going to let it have a shadow. And where it doesn't want to have a shadow, I'm just going to say, okay, that's cool. You don't have to have some blue there. But I think if we, in general, have some blue all the way around this little bit, that we are going to see it pushed back behind the rest of this orange peel without doing too much. And this isn't necessarily here. I mean, it's here for a bit of shadowing, but it's not there to be the shadow area. Right, if I'm going to do that shadow area, I'm going to make my own gray and do that. And that's ultramarine. And I'm going to throw a little bit of sepia in there. It's a good color. I'm going to bias it just a little bit on the blue side. And then I'm going to drop that color in here. All right, that's all in shadow. All across the top here, that's in shadow. And that shadow is going to come down, I don't know, that far. And then just to make sure everybody knows there's a bit of a shadow, I'm going to actually put a little bit of shadow in here on this side. And I'm going to say, I got a little darker than I want, but I'm going to say that's about what I want. And I think that's going to look interesting enough. If we need to add some warmer tones on top of that or something, or if we need to push that back even further, I look at that reference photo, that's pretty far back there. That might not be quite dark enough. We might have to go even more, but we're going to leave it for the moment. And now I'm going to take that little bit of blue, and I'm going to be really brave. Because I'm going to drop some of that back in these deep pockets back here. And I'm going to hope that a little bit of this goes a long way. And this is going to be like a glaze on here. Just glaze this on. I want something to set this color apart from everything else. Right? I want, when your eye sees this, I want it to know that goes back underneath there a little bit. Actually, I think I could do this whole thing over here. I think I could do that whole thing just like that, and that should push that whole thing back. Cool. I think that's kind of where we want to go with that. What do I want to do here? I want to do this whole area in here. This whole thing right in here. Just glaze over the top of this. It's a brave thing to be able to do that. It doesn't feel like you should do it. Actually, I'm going to come in. I'm going to do all the way out to here. Doesn't feel like you should do this. It feels like you should leave that alone. But I think if we put that little bit of blue, it will help with our definition here. I think it did. I think it did. Okay, I don't know if anybody is still with me. I can't. That's okay. That's okay. Accepting this is a bit of a weird evening for this. And I'm doing something I wouldn't normally do, which is glaze with blue over top, but I think it's gonna give us something that's kind of neat. It's gonna, woo, that's probably too much. I think it's gonna give us what we want here too, which is just enough definition that some of this stuff is back or behind or underneath a little bit. If we didn't make these layers too thick, it should work. It's gonna work. Of course it's gonna work. Of course it's gonna work. Has to work. Can't not work. It might help knock this color down a little bit. All right, cool. I can actually live with that. I can live with that. Uh-oh, Dwayne says, I'm here. My video was behind for a bit. You mentioned using purple, then I fast forward a little purple, and the purple is painting now. So, yeah, okay, so cool, Dwayne. So what I said was, we might want to think about, as we're doing this, we might want to think about adding some purple in here somewhere, right? Purple is the complement of yellow or orange, some kind of bluish tint in here, so that we can knock these colors down a little bit, right? I don't think it's bad right now, but if we were just to go over this layer after layer after layer with some just, what am I trying to say? Just these red, yellow colors, it's going to make it really warm, really hot, and it potentially is going to be too much. We don't want it to be too much. We want it to be just right. So one of the ways we can tone that down is with a little bit of a blue or a purple, and I tried to do that a little bit here by painting some blue over top of things here, and I think I'm going to let the rind kind of be the rind. I think I'm not going to do too much to take that away. I think that's kind of that's going to be the hook on this as I'm looking at it, right? We'll make everything else, or a lot of everything else, a bit more muted, and then we'll just let that rind pop off of there and be this just wildly bright color. And I think everybody's going to see it and go, whoa, that's kind of cool. Right? And I'm trying to get this back corner proper, right? I want this to be far back, right? That's coming off the back of this rind. So I need that to be further back. So I can do it by either bluing it, or I can do it by increasing the contrast between the two, right? So I didn't want to make it too blue. So the one I just put, the gray that I just put on was the gray that I had made. It's Ultramarine and Sepia, makes a wonderful gray. And then there's a little bit of this orange color mixed into it. And that seems to have pushed it back quite a bit. Now down here, I did a little bit, something a little subtler, right? I did a glaze of blue over some of this. And maybe it didn't push it back quite far enough. We'll take another crack at this in a second. But it definitely made this stand forward, right? And if we don't do anything more with this and with this, those definitely become some really hot accent pieces in here. And then a little bit of blue down here, or gray down here, along the entire bottom to kind of seat it in the bottom of this. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to take some Azo Orange. I should probably get into the sepia here. Some sepia, and maybe just a touch of this blue. Not quite warm enough. There we go. And I'm going to put some color down here. This rind down here, it's all in deep shadow down here. So it doesn't make sense for us to have this bright color. Let's just add some of this dark to it. I don't want it to be too blue, right? It still needs to be somewhat warm, so that sepia, that orange that's in there, is going to help it out. Plus, it's got that orange base underneath, but it's just going to look like it's sitting underneath a little bit more now. And if we think we need a little bit more orange here and there on some of this, we'll just drop in a little bit of orange bits, pieces here and there, right? This rind isn't, or this pith area isn't one solid color by any stretch, right? It's got some pits to it, and it's got some depth to it, and a few lines maybe here and there. I don't know, something going on. And I have to say, I'm really kind of starting to like it. It's growing on me. And I looked, and my signal strength now is back to 100%. So it looks like we are in the clear on the video. I'm going to cross my fingers as I say that. And we'll go from there. But I'm looking at this, I really am starting to like this. I think it's really starting to come together. It's funny how, and I'm sure you all have seen it, this is nothing new to me or anything like that. It's funny how you will do a painting and it doesn't, nothing of it looks bad or anything. You're kind of like, yeah, okay, it's whatever. And then at some point you turn the corner and it starts to come together and you go, well, yeah, you know what? I really rather like that. And I think this is getting there for me. It's getting to that point for me. I'm really starting to like this. I think what I need to do, what's going to help is I need to really define these different slices. I need this slice to be different than that slice. Right? I need to push that boundary a little bit. And I'm going to do that. Come on, that means I got to pull that color up, pull it up. I think I'm going to do the same thing on this one too. This one, this is a weird combination to me, but it seems to be working. The Azo Orange and Yellow Ochre. An odd combination for sure, but it seems to be working okay. It seems to be doing its thing there. So that one's got to be different than this one. This one's got to be different than that one. How do I make this one just different from the one next to it? I don't know. Let's figure it out. I don't want it to be colder necessarily, so I'm going to drop in a little bit of a brown color in there. For me, if I'm using a bit of a brown color, that brown color is going to be, especially in something that's warm like this, or this warm, it's going to be a burnt umber. And I can get away with using a little bit of it. As long as I don't use too much of it, I can get away with using a little bit of it without altering that orange too much. And you can see that here. And I think that's why the yellow ochre is working that little bit, because it just gives it a little extra different little bit of brown color that sets it off a little bit. It's not enough to really set the alarm bells off in your head going, oh, something's wrong. But it's just enough that it gives it some interest and some cool look to it. So I'm going to continue to add just a little bit of color here and there. Again, I want this to get light coming up, and maybe right at the top of this we'll have a little bit of darker color, like right at the top of this, where it's underneath that peel a little bit, but not too much, not too much. Oh, that's a cool slice. Oh, I missed a question. I Am Numb says, what's the biggest painting you've made? So, the biggest painting that I've made some that are, let's see, 24 by 36 inches, I think is the biggest one I've made. I've made two of them kind of that size. And one of the one of them is hanging in my buddy's office, and it was an image of Bigfoot riding a unicorn, and that was always fun to paint. That's 24 by 36, and then I did have an art class that I had to do a painting for, and I did the Natural History Museum here in town, and that was also 24 by 36. So that's the biggest thing I've done. 24 by 36 is big enough that it's difficult to work with here on my table. It's hard. 24 by 36 is large. It's a big piece of paper, and I didn't enjoy it. I will be honest with you. I did not enjoy it. I do have one that I'm working on here. Right, this is a statue of a horse, and this is, I don't know, 20 by 20, 18 by 18, 20 by 20, something like that. It's pretty big, or it seems pretty big to me. I want to work bigger. I want to work bigger. Bigger sometimes is harder, but not always. Sometimes smaller is much harder, because you got to use smaller brushes, and you got to get into these tiny little areas, and so sometimes smaller is harder too. And bigger, you can kind of let rip a little bit more and just have some fun with some things. So I've got plenty of bigger paper. I'm just kind of waiting for the right image to do something bigger with. I would love to paint something bigger here. The issue is, if I paint something bigger here, it's going to take forever to paint, right? And so it would have to be like a 2 or 3 night thing. I did a commission painting for someone, their dog, a picture of their pet dog, and it was almost this big. It might have been a little narrower than this. Whatever this is, 20 by 20, 18 by 18. It'd have been a little narrower than that, but it was pretty big too, and it got to be a bit at some point to kind of corral in. But they're fun. They are fun too. They're different. Painting that large is a little different, but it's fun. It has its own challenges. I'm working on 18 by 24. Cool, that's a good size. The large canvas is difficult with watercolor. Yeah, you gotta have a different mindset, right? So if you're using bigger paper, you got to use bigger brushes. You got to use bigger strokes. You've got to have some understanding of the dynamics of what's going on with the paper and the paint, and you've got to mix more paint for one thing, right? That's sometimes that's more difficult sometimes just itself, in the understanding that, cool, I've got this little palette over here, and I'm used to painting something that's, I don't know, 12 by 12, and you double the size of that, and all of a sudden, my palette that I use 12 by 12 to mix the perfect amount of paint with, all of a sudden isn't nearly big enough. I don't have nearly enough paint mixed up for this. So then you spend half your time mixing paints, and by that time, everything's dry, and you really got to gear up for it. You got to get the right mentality. You've got to have the right mindset to do it. But if you can do it, and if you can pull it off, man, more power to you. Painting, in the little bit I've done, painting larger is actually kind of fun, but it is a bit of a challenge, for sure. I think a large canvas is difficult too, especially because most of my paintings are very small. Yeah. You get into the mindset, you get into the mentality, you have the understanding of how the paint and the water and the paint brushes and everything are going to work on a smaller scale. And then you just think, well, I'll just scale that up and I'll just do whatever. And scaling up and doing whatever doesn't necessarily work all that well. Okay, cool. So I'm actually really kind of digging where this is at the moment. Excuse me. I really want to be able to add some texture into this little bit. However, I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of frightened to do it because it could be terrible like that. It could be bad like that. Let's get some of that off of there. The reason I'm a little afraid to do it is because my dry brush technique, I will admit, lacks a little bit. It could be better. So what I'm going to do while I'm waiting for this to re-dry so we can redo some of that is I happen to have some white gouache here that I had used earlier, and I'm gonna mix. Let's see. I'm gonna put a little bit of this yellow color in one of these bowls, and I'm gonna mix quite a bit of this gouache in with that. I'll just get my gouache dirty. Okay, and I'm hoping that what we can do is come onto our orange here and add some of these little strings that come out. You know what I'm talking about? This shouldn't be too different than the white that's already on here, right? It should be roughly the same, but I want to add a little bit of these squiggles on here and make this, I don't know, more lifelike is certainly not the right term, but look more natural maybe. How's that? Is that a better way to say it? And I don't know what's the right thing to do here. I'm just going to put some of these on here, and I'm going to assume that when you look at them, it's going to seem about right. Right? We've all peeled oranges. We've all seen oranges. There's not really a right way to do this and a wrong way to do this. Maybe there's a line that goes this way or that way. It's just these white lines that go all over the place. They look a little crazy. If you're a little kid, I don't want to eat it. I don't want to eat that. That looks weird. But it's also kind of what makes the orange kind of cool too, right? Just going to add some of these here and there. If we get too many or too few, I don't think it's going to matter all that much. And maybe I'll add a little bit up. Yeah, I don't know. add maybe a little bit of white to some of this down here. A little bit of white down here will help to break this up. I'm not doing this because I think there needs to be white on the bottom here, but because I think it'll add to the contrast that little bit. All right, I think that's pretty good. Some of these are starting to fade, and that's all right too. I like it. I like it. Now, I was going to try to come right back in here with a little bit of darker color. Right, let me gray this down a little bit. And I really don't know if I should do this. Actually, I'm not going to do this. I like where it's at. I like where it's at. The only thing I really want to do is do something up here. But I'm not sure how to do that. So when you're not sure how to do something, what I'm sure you should do is not do anything to mess it up. Don't do anything to mess up what you got. Let me pull this down. I will do just a little bit more here. A little bit. Give me some of this orange. Give me some of this orange. I'm going to darken this corner one more bit on this corner up here. And it looks to me like I got a little bit of gouache in there. That's okay. I think we can make this stand out just that little bit more even. We darken this up even that little bit more. With any luck, I didn't push it past where it should have been or it could have been. I didn't want to make it too blue. How does that look? Oh, that helps a little bit. I think the blue at this point looks a little unnatural, but I'll go with some of it. I can live with some of it. Just going to add a little bit of that yellow ochre in there. All right, cool. So yeah, I now that I'm looking at it, I think that little bit darker here. I try to talk the talk and walk the walk, right? Don't be afraid to push darks. I think if it doesn't lighten too much, that extra dark there really helps bring this top peel forward quite a bit. And this little bit of blue down here shows that that's still in the back there somewhere. I like this dark in here. I don't know if it really matches what's over there, and again, it doesn't have to, but it's a nice contrast to these lighter slices out here, right? Nice and light. This is in the light, you can see it. This is in the light, you can see it. As it goes down in there, it's a little darker, a little less light. This one out in the front here, a lot of light out here. As it comes down, it gets darker down here, of course, but it stands out from that's dark right behind it. And same thing with this slice. Even the edge of this slice, I think, works really well. So I think, whoops, I'm going to pull that down. There you go, you can see that. I don't want to do too much more with it. I'm actually pretty happy with where it's at. If I were to do anything else with it, I would go over some more of this gouache. All right, this gouache has lightened. It's not quite as opaque as I had hoped it was going to be. Too much water, that's on me. I knew it was going to thin out a little bit, I just didn't know how much. So maybe we can go back over with a little bit of this. Making sure it's pretty thick. There we go. Something like that, right? It's got these white, are they membranes? Not membranes. White strands, whatever they are. All over the orange. Right? Everybody's still pretty quiet. Okay. It's all good. It's all good. I'll do quiet too. All right, cool. I think that's about where I am going to leave this one at. I'm going to sign this. I don't know, I'll sign it right down here. I think I'm going to have a collection of oranges in my office now. Because I think I've got 3 of them already. But I like this. This one is different than the other ones. It's got some unique qualities that I really like in this. So I'm going to leave it here. Or should I leave it here? I'm not going to... you know what I should do? Okay, I'm not going to leave it here. I'm going to do one more layer. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do one more layer. As I'm looking at it, I would love to have just a little bit more curve on this peel. That means make this side a little darker. It means make this side a little darker. So that's what I'm going to set out to do right now. And I'm going to use my Azo Orange. I'm going to use a little bit of this. What is that? Burnt Umber. And I'm going to try to darken this up. And we're going to see if this pays off or if I've just kind of made a big mistake. I think it's gonna pay off. We'll take this from here and we'll pull this out from there. I don't want a water line. This is a nice gentle curve from there. And the same thing on the other side over here. Darker over there. Darker, darker, darker. Let's push that dark a little bit. Let's get right around there. This can be a little darker down here. And let's pull it out from there. And let's see how that looks. I think this came out a little too far. I can push this back a little bit. Maybe it curls just ever so slightly through part of this. Maybe let's do it that way. Not exactly what I thought it was going to end up like. But you can see mixing that Azo Orange with that brown gives it, I would say it's more of a warm shadow than a cold shadow. right? You've now got, you can see it's darker. You can definitely see it's darker, but it's not a blue darker, right? It's not a weird, it doesn't add some weird color profile to it. All you get are some warmer colors in here. Okay, I'm working with this a little bit. I think I can live with that. Actually, that gives it a little more, that does give it a little bit more interest. That gives it a little bit more interest. It makes me want to do a little bit more up here too. I should have not. Where do I stop? Where do I stop? Where do I not continue to do this at? I don't know the answer to that. But I know I don't want the whole thing to be dark. Right? I want to make sure we leave a lot of this super light area here, because that's going to give the this whole thing that much more interest. Yeah, I'm going to stop there. I think that gives it some more interest. Just that little bit there. No, knowing when to stop is hard. Knowing when to stop is hard. Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. All right, cool. I've already signed it. So let's do a little self-reflection here. I didn't exactly know how dark to make this. I knew this had to be dark enough to make this bit up here pop out. And I probably should have kept this a little warmer. It's a little bluish for me, but I think that blue helps to push that back, the inside of that back, so that this can stand out. And this really does pop out, especially in comparison to that. And it being blue, this whole thing pops out further. I love the dark to light to dark. Perfect. I love that. It still maintains through the whole thing here, even through this, through all of this up here. It's got that cool watery coloriness to it, right? Whatever that term is, watercoloriness, whatever that is. I don't know how to describe it, but I know what it is when I see it. It's just this nice flowing color through here. The slices, right? Light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, dark, light, dark. Gives us some nice definition between all of these slices. When you look at it, you know, even if I hold my hand up here, you know exactly what these are. These are different orange slices. So I really like that. And then they all kind of morph down here in the bottom. And I'm just saying, well, it's dark enough down here. You can't see where the individual bits of this are and where they aren't. So I really like this. Like I said, this is probably going to be hanging in my office starting tomorrow morning. So that's it for this one. First off, I want to apologize for the technical glitches. I am going to work to get all of that set back up properly for next week. Dwayne V says, I learned something every painting I do. Is it the same for you? What is your takeaway from this painting? Do I learn something from every painting? I might. I don't know if I learn something from every painting, but I definitely find something interesting about every painting that I do. I've been painting for a long time now, in learning off of a painting, an individual painting could be tough to do, but finding some of those really interesting points, definitely find some interest off of it. I don't know what we're going to do next week. I've got a whole stack of drawings up here on a cabinet that I have done. I'm going to pull one of those off of there and we'll see what it looks like. We'll do that next week. In 2 weeks, is the challenge painting. I'm going to do rain, and I'm going to commit to it. I'm trying to do it in a loose fashion. I'll just tell everybody what I want to do. I want to do like a New York City cab in the rain, right? Some lights behind it. That way we can have some streaks of tail lights or headlights. With the light behind it, we can have some long shadows, and we don't have to have a whole lot of detail. It's in the rain, and it's going to be very loose. I think it's got a lot of potential to do. It's going to be a stretch for me to do because it's outside of what I would normally do, but that's okay. Stretching to do something like that is fun to do sometimes, and it's a good exercise. Maybe I can move something like from that into what I normally do, this type of thing. And with that, I'm going to say, for those of you stuck with me, thank you so much for sticking with me. Very much appreciate that. I hope you had a good time here, suffered through those few problems that we had. Hope you have a great rest of your night. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And I hope you're able to join me back here again in the studio next week when we do something probably completely different. Until then, thank you so much for joining me. Take care. Bye-bye.